The state of Florida is creating its own alternative to APUS history, and it's essentially a political rewrite of how American history gets taught. Governor Ron DeSantis has spent years attacking the College Board and AP courses for allegedly pushing liberal ideas about race and gender.
We believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them. When you try to use Black history to shoehorn in queer theory, you are clearly trying to use that political purposes.
So now Florida is rolling out its own pilot program called FACT, Florida Advanced Courses and Tests, and where else to start or when else to start than at U.S. history. And the differences are significant. The new framework places heavy emphasis on Western civilization, English constitutional traditions, and the Protestant roots of the founders, even encouraging students to go study religious texts and to learn how figures like Martin Luther and John Calvin supposedly shaped American democracy. The curriculum also frames the U.S. through the lens of American exceptionalism, which is the idea that America is a uniquely admirable nation whose darker chapters are deviations from the nation's core ideals as opposed to foundational elements of the system itself. Which brings us to the slavery chapter. The framework argues that the Constitution is fundamentally an anti-slavery document and portrays many of the founding fathers as opponents of slavery, despite the fact that many of them enslaved people themselves. Historians quoted by the New York Times pushed back hard on that interpretation. Annette Gordon-Reed, one of the country's leading scholars on Thomas Jefferson, said that this curriculum appears designed to explain away the founders' inaction on slavery. While another historian argued that the Constitution was historically a compromise protecting slavery as opposed to an anti-slavery document. As for indigenous history, that lesson primarily focused on before European colonization and centers Christianity in a way that many public school systems moved away from decades ago. But its architects argue the course restores patriotism and balance. Though the only recommended textbook for the class is Land of Hope by historian Wilfred McClay, who openly said that he wrote it partly in response to Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States. And this may not stop with Florida. Education experts say that this could become a blueprint for conservative states nationwide, essentially creating a red state competitor to the College Board and AP system. As of now, the credits from these Florida exams only apply at Florida public colleges, but if other Republican-led states adopt the model, the country could wind up with two competing versions of American history being taught to students depending on where they live.